You can do it. You can go create. Just get to it. I promise you'll feel great. Because life can get ugly, and art sure can too. What matters is to do it. Let those feelings flow through you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ugly Podcast. It's me, your host, Laura Alexander, they, them, and I've got an amazing guest for you today, a local Tacoma artist, music, songwriter. By day, she develops food waste reduction policies for a sustainable future. And by night, she hosts a songwriter club, power lifts with determination, and shares her soul through her music with her ultra talented bandmates. Welcome. Would you please introduce yourself? Name, pronouns, brief physical description.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was a great intro. Jade Monroe, she, her. I have long brown hair. I'm wearing a black sweater, and I'm super stoked to be here. Thank you so much for your time.
Yay. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's just dive into it. Tell the people who you are. I want to know what your relationship to creativity has been. If it had this beautiful story arc, what would that have looked like in your life?
Yeah, I really, yeah, we were talking about this question a little bit, and I was thinking there's so many different spots to start it, and you can go back all the way to childhood. You can go to where you had the aha moment of like deconstructing things of oh, I get it now. This is my expression. This is my voice. What is my voice? And trying to find that maybe more in adolescence, or like for me, it was like eighth grade. I was wearing a lot of Hot Topic clothes and saying, all right, flipping off a lot of things in my head and then on paper. And it's just funny because I'm sure a lot of us have this story of where it was like no questions. It was just super, whatever the pure energy of creativity is flowing as a kid, and then something changes. And as a kid, I was just I fearless was a word, and I still try to have that now, but I think the word's probably closer to courage, because I get scared, and it's just superhuman to go like and like freak out, and then and then do it, like especially if it's something new and we get nervous, which we can definitely go into. I think along the way the perfectionism bones jangled, and that's something I always have to deal with. But as a kid, my goodness, like the fearlessness, there was a time when there was a hoedown. I grew up in South Dakota, and my parents took me to a hoedown. Actually, it was just my mom. I grew up with a single mom for most of my upbringing, and she gave me this tambourine, which was both a critical maneuver and an error because I wouldn't stop.
Because now you won't stop. You're like, I've got my tambourine. This is it.
It was terrible. Like at the grocery store, like it was, and it's still like what I do now. Like I have like friends that know me now. It's like a melodica. Like I'll take it to the open mics and stuff and just be belligerent. But that's fun. It's just like cacophony. I'm not that good at either of these things. I'm not a percussionist. My drummer would tell you I can't keep time, but I'm up there just kind of banging the tambourine kind of close to the front of the stage. They invite me on. I'm probably like 5, or I'm a kid at this point, and I'm just making some noise. I'm sure I'm not helping anything. And I just, it's such a coded memory of just like what it feels like to share live music, be a part of something bigger, maybe to not know what I'm doing, but doing anyway. And there's so many tiny little moments like that. And then something weird happens. I don't know what to tell you besides, I think the big heavy push of it all gets into us. And I think a lot of pressure can come from a lot of different ways. And I've listened to a few of your pods, and I feel like that's a common theme where people have to decode in some way. And I definitely had to. I still do. I think everyone probably for the rest of their time, that's a task. But
yeah,
I don't know. So that's kind of like the current journey from probably like high school onward, is that decoding and what does that look like? And it's been beautiful. I think I'm in a good spot now with it, but damn, it's a big part of the journey for me. It's perfectionism. It's to not have to be right the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gets into our bones. I don't remember, how did you phrase it? You said something about perfectionism in your bones. The perfectionist like bone jangle. Yeah, exactly. That's such a great description of it. It does, like, I don't know about you, but for me, when I feel that, it's like a tightening of my bones, and I'm just like, I don't can't control my body quite. It just gets in your body of how scary that imperfection and like the idea of making mistakes and being seen in your humanness, in your mess, in your potential mistakes. It gets those bones jangling.
Yeah, it almost gives anxiety. It gives that clenched feel. Like, I've noticed that it does feel like something deeper, like the muscle tissue's going and doing something unfortunate that it shouldn't be doing. Yeah. I also power lift now, and that's helped the musical process in a cool way. And
Ooh,
I cannot stress enough. Yeah, no, I just can't stress enough how the physical is the mental, and the mental is, the physical, and the confidence that can bring to take away that perfectionism thing. Because you don't start powerlifting, the numbers that you see on, well, first off, like, the Instagram numbers are probably fake. So,
sure,
don't do that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, no one starts with the big stuff right away. And that's the same for creativity, anything you do. So yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice to take that pressure off, but damn, that pressure does suck. And I still grapple with it, like taking stuff to the band. So I have a band, and they're lovely, amazing, consummate musicians. They have the theory. I feel like I'm pretty self-taught as a creative and a musician, and they did the schools, and they know the things and how the keys and the unlocking the things and the augmented chords, like, they have the sauce. And so I'm very blessed to have their time. And so it gives me the pressure internally a lot too, though, to show up and beyond, which I have to work on and always just be like, it's enough. They're here. They're showing up. Just play.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of that kind of imposter syndrome, maybe.
Oh, sure.
Showing up. Yeah.
Yeah. Who am I? Why are they showing up in my band?
Yeah. Wait, you want to talk to me? You want to play music with me? What? How?
Yeah.
I feel that a lot with.
Go ahead. I was going to be self-deprecating. I don't need to be. Please continue talking.
No, we don't need to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I also, like, I've felt that way sometimes on this, like, podcast. I remember the first time that I interviewed an artist who had like over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and my brain was just like, how is this person coming on my podcast? Just like, it is such a silly little thing of like being known or like having some kind of audience, and then thinking like, oh, well, like, that can't be me, or like, I can't be involved because I don't have that, or I don't have that experience, I don't have that reach. How am I supposed to have this conversation? And then you just show up, and people are people, and people want to engage and be creative together and play. And as long as you're willing to like yes and that conversation, you sail. I don't know.
Yeah, and you have a compelling message, like, not to flip this around for you, but I think, I'm here, and I'm sure everyone, and also, like, screw the number of followers people have, like,
for real,
we're not numbers, and it's great that people have reach. I think that is can be a powerful tool. Like, I don't mean to minimize it either, because I know a lot of people put time into that, and it matters to them, and I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. This is literally the opposite of that on this pod, in any time we talk about things people care about. But I really think too, like, when people show up with their time, kind of similar to the band thing, it's like, why? And you have such a compelling thing going on here with focusing on creativity in spaces. Where else are we doing that? And I think you creating that space is pretty admirable. I think a lot of people will resonate and will continue to resonate with that.
Thank you. Yeah, this is definitely a space that I love creating, and I love, like, whoever it does reach. This is like why I keep doing it. Like, every time I get a message that's just like, I listened and I loved it, and I made something today, and I'm just like, oh, perfect. This is why we do this. I love it.
And why do you like even get started though? Like, what made you think it's a pod versus like anything else?
Yeah, well, starting a podcast was something I always thought would be really fun. Like, as soon as I got into podcasts, probably like I don't know, 2015-ish, and I just really enjoyed them. Um, and I always thought it'd be really fun to have one and just like have something that I was passionate about that I wanted to talk about. But at that point in my life, I didn't really have anything I was super passionate about and that I felt could be cohesive. And again, it was, more of that like imposter syndrome perfectionism. Like, well, if it's not like this perfect idea that I execute perfectly, that is instantly successful, then it wouldn't be worth my time,
Yeah.
And so, and then once I kind of started down this creativity journey, the podcast idea just kept like it came up again because I started having these conversations with one of my closest friends, and we kind of became creative business, not partners, but just we each had our own entrepreneur journeys. And so then we'd kind of co-work together and we'd have these conversations about like running a creative business. And I was like, this would be an excellent podcast. And so I started it originally with them, and we would talk about like, yeah, like owning like creative entrepreneurship and owning a business and putting yourself out there and doing scary things and working through the fear to actually take steps forward. And then it's just kind of built out from there. My friend had to step down because their business got busy and they started a family. And so they didn't have time for this anymore. But I wanted to keep exploring this idea with other creatives. So
That's so
here we are.
cool. And it's iterated and now it's here. And that's,
Yeah.
well, look at that. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's cool. I had no idea.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. It's fun to like retell that now because some people might listen and aren't going to listen to like the entire backlog, and it's just like, yeah, no, and also I don't recommend you listen to the entire backlog
Because it has probably gotten better.
It has gotten better because that's what happens. You start something and you fumble your way through. You have no idea what the fuck you're doing, and then eventually you figure some stuff out, and yeah, so it's fun.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we touched on before we started recording and that we wanted to explore today was kind of this idea of creativity being a road towards some kind of spiritual enlightenment or some kind of like connection to ourself. What has that been like for you?
Yeah, I think, we can be creative. Yeah, so this has been a big focus for trying to get my thoughts organized, but this has been a big part of, I think, my recent creative journey and a big reason why I brought together a songwriter club to kind of create more community around creativity. I also feel like society-wise, we could use more collaboration when it comes to creativity, even if you're not creating together, just conversation and community on it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said about culture and creativity and what that can do for us as a community, but that's a whole another aside. So yeah, for me, I feel like, there's a lot of reasons that you do pursue creativity and expression. I think, growing up, going back to like that high school kid, I think a lot of that was just trying to figure myself out. And so maybe there was ego a lot in that, in the space of like, what are these emotions? I'm a creative person, sure, but I'm a theater kid just kind of yelling right now. And just kind of, sneaking cigarettes and not doing my best. So
this is how I'm going to express myself, damn it.
Yeah, I look back at her. I just want to give her a hug, but I don't think my expression intentions were the most, pure. And I also think looking back to, it's a ways to a means to understanding, and I was so far from understanding because I looked even at my college band, and we were trying to do get the followers, get the things, get the peoples. It wasn't even about the music at a certain point. Like we did this small like tour, and it just became so much more about everything else that it got lost in the sauce a bit. And it just was really unfortunate because now that I feel like I know what I know now about like the spiritual connection of music, I do feel like we did ourselves a disservice, and it was my fault. Like I led us down that path because I was getting too excited, and I was getting too stoked by the opportunities and blinded by the shiny things that get presented in those moments. And so I think ultimately the spiritual connection to creativity has helped me really push out a lot of those distractions, which I think can be blockers. I, not to hit the buzzer on the artist way, but
Here it
here we
is.
go. We go there probably every one of your pods now. But the Artist Way by Julia Cameron was very eye opening, and in that there's a section on blockers. And I would say to anyone listening, if you're curious on that book, but the week approach of it, every chapter is supposed to be a week of focus. If you just read it to get the concepts, just to dip your toes into it, I think that's super sufficient. In the songwriter club that I have, we do a monthly approach and just look at concepts each month. And so, I don't know, just read the book and look at the blockers. And I don't know, for the spiritual elements, to focus on the pure reason to create and to find myself through that. I'm able to take like that perfectionism, the ego part, like the shiny bells and whistles of what it feels like to be sufficient in the music industry right now, which I'm convinced is never a good feeling ever. It's designed to make you feel like shit. So I'm not going to participate is my, like I'm participating, but I'm going to participate the way I want to. And so it really helps me stay true and clear to what I want, which is super liberating, to be honest. It makes me feel better, and it helps me create more music to bring to the band. And that's what I really want to do. So yeah, it feels true, but I'm glad to chat about whatever elements of it you want to chat about. I think it's a really cool thing. I know some people can go spirituality and push away too, so we could go anywhere.
True. Yeah. Yeah. Which direction should we go? What feels good right now? Organize my thoughts really quick. Yeah, because my brain immediately is going to like, those shiny things that
and now more than ever we have
signal
them, don't we? And so we could easily talk about them. I think they've been designed to distract us, to be honest. We can talk about shiny things, especially as it relates to creativity. So for the band, or no, please, why don't you go ahead and ask your question? Let me see if it matches what I was about to contribute.
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking like just the ways that we've been taught that our creativity needs to be part of this like success story. Our creativity is a means for monetization. It's a means of attention, connection, success. Like, because we're shown all of these, these success stories, especially they've been doing so many of those biopics, of every single successful music artist. And it's like, look at the, like, but those are also, okay, now my brain's going so many different directions and you might need to rein me in.
I'm not going to talk. I just want to hear everything you're thinking and then let's see where it goes.
Okay, great. Just because when you see, we're watching those biopics and there's always that moment of like, oh no, this is empty. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. And there's like, that's often when like there's the introduction to like the drug issues and like the filling up the holes and the gaps, because like the story that we were taught of that fame isn't what we thought it was going to be. And then the reason that people made art in the first place gets lost amidst all of the noise. Yeah, I'm curious if you think, because I heard you use the word, it's designed that way. It's designed to be distraction. I'm curious if you like where you think that kind of design is coming from. Is it just like from this capitalist structure? Like what are your thoughts on that, I guess?
Well, yeah, I don't want to come in too hot with going like they're doing this thing, I don't think
conspiracy theory. Go.
Yeah. Because they've been doing this thing for beyond the internet, but industry and monetization of creativity, what does that mean? And it's been there before the internet. So like I think I was going to come in hot with a criticism on how social media has impacted especially independent artists, but even if you back out of that and look at how marginalized artists couldn't get record time or studio time, especially pre-civil rights movement, that was a big a game changer when it came to representation in mainstream music. But and I'm definitely not the expert to really dive deep into it. But through my labor history background, I've learned so much through American history on how the predominant voice has often been there by design, and
Mm-hmm.
that predominant voice is strategically placed. A good example of this, actually, and then I promise to go back to social media, but I find looking back at other like right now I'm reading well, I don't need to plug a book, but it's really interesting. I'm reading Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. It's the fates of human societies. So I'm fun at parties, but I'm really interested in how like all these things could there could be something to mine and learn from for our current position.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing not from this book, but I'm thinking about lately is how in the Soviet Union they had these opulent, just decadent theaters, and if they could control the culture and control the entertainment of the culture, they could control the population. And I think that is something that we even see today in all of its forms. And if you look at historically and how we've had conversations even on social media, it's not hard to like understand how that's been the case. And so I'm not going to poke at any particular artist because I really don't want to like have something happen where it looks like I don't think something is cool or good.
Yeah.
I really want this to be a general critique. So maybe just to go at social media in a general critique, I will say the idea that you can't go ahead and book something because you don't have enough followers or your reel
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have enough plays, that I
Yeah.
think is a strategic industry design to keep certain voices out of certain spaces just as much as
Mm-hmm.
any other mechanism like that. And it's tricky because my band and I, we make decisions to not be a real developing band. We want
Mm-hmm.
to focus on the music with the time we do have together. And that is a choice. And how do we navigate? And we are putting more time into in-person connections, being more intentional with how we network in person. And it's hard because I'm sure we're foregoing stuff by making those choices, but we are trying not to engage with social media as much as I think we often feel pressured to do. And, that's probably half resistance, half ignorant at the end of the day, like that's just a strategy that we choose as a group. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's hard out there because there is pressure to want to play that game. And I think a lot of great musicians do and find success in it too. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard thing to navigate that algorithm, and especially especially just like, seeing all of those social media CEOs at the inauguration, and just knowing how our government influences social media algorithms and what is pushed and what is put down. And yeah, anyway, yeah.
no, but if you look at it, our theaters, what have become our theaters, like to kind of keep that analogy going.
Mm-hmm.
So the Soviet Union, big old theaters that everyone thought were just the state of the art thing. What's been our state of the art thing? It's been the phones in our pockets. It's
It's been
been
social
like,
media, yeah.
exactly. And so I don't think it's wild to go, oh, we've been really into this. And has this been good? I've
Yeah.
been really refreshed lately by just getting re-engaged and organizing in the community lately and meeting new people outside of the music scene. I think the music scene is fantastic in Tacoma. I really think, like, when I say I'm trying to meet people outside the music scene, it's not because I'm trying to like leave the music scene, but it's been
Yeah,
great
yeah.
to meet people in other communities and other spaces like climate action groups and all that jazz, because I'm seeing how they are also connected to creativity in their ways. And I think that swirl in person throughout, community connection is something you can't even get from a screen anyway. And so
Yeah.
I'm just, not that I'm trying to push like a Luddite agenda or anything. I'm just thinking there's a mindfulness to be had as we try to like set goals for ourselves. And so like to like the followers thing, maybe it's a quality versus quantity thing,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, we have to have a presence out there. I'm not ignorant to that, but
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah, I really vibe with a lot of what you're saying, especially like even in my own business and what I want to do with this kind of creativity coaching-esque thing that I'm doing, and like trying to get more local and show up more locally and in person, because so much of my business has been online for so long, and doing a lot of virtual events, and those are great, but I'm so interested and have such a pull to get more in person, touching real life, like,
Yeah, I think
um,
a lot of people feel that way too.
yeah,
Um, and
um,
it's refreshing. I think if you look at how pendulums swing and preferences, we didn't feel safe to do that for a long time.
yeah,
Throughout the pandemic response, that was really challenging to navigate. Um, Now it feels like we need that community connection, wildly so. And so I think that
yeah,
craving is just organically occurring, which is really exciting. There's a lot of great open mics in town, and I think Tacoma is solidifying creatively in a really cool way. There's challenges like where to play in town, making sure people come out. I'm not ignorant to all that, but I really think there's something to be said about we have an amazing network, and people are starting to learn how to leverage that a bit more outside of like the digital spaces. Or to use that digital space is as a way to make sure that these physical spaces are known about, which is cool.
yeah, absolutely. Lovely. Yeah, and I think in I mean, this kind of goes pretty well into this other topic we want to talk about of empowerment and how creativity empowers us. And I think creativity, especially in the sense of community and finding that connection and being seen where we live in our communities, combining that with this like this creativity, this idea of what ideas can we come up with together, what ideas do I have to contribute to my community, to this life that we have. I think that there's a really beautiful way that can all come together. um, what are your thoughts on this way that art empowers us?
Oh my goodness. Well, first, I just love what you just said. I think all of that is so true. Um, I think like for Tacoma, I love how Porch Fest is a great example. We
Yeah.
all get together and just create through porches, through taking the streets over for a day of music and art. And we go, you know what, this is what we're doing. And we have like that community agreement just to create. And so many people get engaged in that way that who knows what they'd otherwise be doing with the music scene. A lot of people tell me that that's like the one way they really engage with music for the year, by allowing folks on their porch, and they create like a nice little hospitality spread. And it's a big deal to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a great little example of how you can like dip your toes into it and find what it means for you. Like the people
Mm-hmm.
that make the signs for that's their own creative endeavor. They're literally in their wood shop, putting stuff together for the thing. And
Yeah.
now with people trying to take any type of feeling that they have and put it into action, it's a similar thing. Like what can you do? Maybe creative expression in expressing yourself. You see it in protest signs. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
amazing. You were at the Olympia protest, and I saw some amazing pictures of the art on those signs. And
Mm-hmm.
I really wish I would have seen those in person. I was at the Tacoma protest, and I was very impressed. All the same with the Tacoma turnout and all the signs, but there's something to be said about the artistic flair of that Olympia protest that I thought was really
Yeah.
interesting and
There
cool.
was there was this one sign in particular that I had to ask him to just stop so I could take a picture, but it was just this beautifully grotesque illustration of Musk and Trump, and like with a you know a what are the why did I just blank on the name
Was
of
it the
those
one in the
disgusting
car? Did he have
cars?
like a Luigi hat on? Was that
Yes, that was him.
that was kind of the one I was thinking, just from an artistic perspective, it
It
was
was
really well
beautiful.
executed. No,
It
it
was
was clear
excellent.
time and
Yeah.
attention. Like you can see my sign over here. Like that takes nothing. I am not I know my lane, and I'm an organizer and I'm a musician. I take a Sharpie to the thing and make a statement. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
no, and so I think that's a cool moment where, especially with people not knowing how to express themselves, and of course, coming from our social media conversation, how to express themselves in public. I think there's
Mhm.
something to really be said about nonviolent um, acts of demonstration of your free speech, and protests are a great avenue for that. And so showing that solidarity, I think, is an incredible opportunity. But if that's not interesting to you, maybe there's other ways, to find your voice through artistic creative expression that can still make a difference. I think it all makes a difference. I think the act of doing in that makes the difference, because not only is it your right, but at the same time, how often do you feel like you just have that bottled up, like, I just need to, the bones are jangling, and maybe you sift through it and figure out what that is through the creative expression, and maybe that's finding that spirit, that everything's kind of connected. For me,
Yes.
I've done labor organizing, and I'm kind of yapping and rambling now, but I've
You're good.
realized that through the organizing, there's almost an art to that as well, and it all kind
Absolutely.
of connects there in a way that it's like the phrase transferable skills, but it's even more than that. It's almost like it all feeds into it each other like a big old organism, and so we need all kinds. And it's amazing when people
Hmm.
start to express themselves, what they learn and share and can contribute. It's what makes society great.
Yes, absolutely. And especially, I think what you said about like, you know, when we're kind of stuck in that inaction and that when we are feeling those bones jangling and like especially now I think when we're like with the onslaught of executive orders and social media and the news, all of it kind of entering into this loop of hopelessness and feeling powerless that like art can really help us like step out of, even if you're just like, okay, I have something inside me that just I want to lay down and go to sleep forever. Like, but if we instead take that energy that's making us feel that exhaustion and instead like get it out in some way, even if it's just like doodling or journaling and just like scribbling your anger out, that it's that force of you. I'm always trying to like figure out how to exactly express this because what I found so amazing about making art is that the more I do it, the more I feel like I can I can influence my reality. The more I say, yes, I can make art, I can take my ideas and bring them out into the real world. The more I feel like, oh yes, I can make a difference in this world that I live in. I can mold my reality. I can affect the world around me. Um, it gives you that oomph, that like that
Yeah,
power,
yeah.
that power to move forward instead of staying in the stagnation. Um, that I just yeah, I'm like, just do something. Let's just do something together, even if it's so small and it might seem infinitesimal. But like, how do you tear down this like giant structure? You have to like, when you're one individual person, you have to first take down the structure that's been built up in your own mind so that you can start chipping away at like the structure that is outside of us. um what's the saying, like, get rid of the cop in your head. I can't remember the exact phrase, but
Yeah, sure.
like decolonizing your brain and all that. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. And you could even, like, I really like doing like um positive culture framework, and you could go like make it a self-love thing. And so love is
Mm-hmm.
to want others to be free. Well, in order to love others, you got to love yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all that kind of thing. And the power to love yourself and to love others, that's probably like, oh, now I'm going to botch it, but there's a Joni Mitchell quote that I'm not going to try. She's too great. I'm gonna myth it. But it's just so pure and good, and there's so much good
Mm.
and pure. Like anytime we're having like a good time with friends, or you have that love and it's true with someone, that's what's up. That's like, put that in my veins. I'm like, the
Mm-hmm.
the emotional constipation you get from fear. I really think, talk about things that are
Yes.
intentionally planted to make something occur. um I think, as much as now has been a challenge and continues to be challenging with the uncertainty and unprecedented nature of our time, I think, outcome wise and timeline wise, a lot of this work in a lot of these machinations. Like, there's no accident. Like, solidarity for the working class is over here, and that's been my big message with the protests, because really, if you look at what the working class has been needing, and I know this, I promise this dovetails with creativity. I promise. But if you look at like the quality of life infrastructure we need and our expression with all of that, it's been needed since the bifurcation of wealth inequality, since like the 80s, even a little bit, that's generations, even well before that. And so I think we have a lot of deprogramming in ourselves that our parents, like there's our DNA and our bodies keep score, sort of thing. And so we have to be kind to ourselves. And I always have to remind myself on that, because we always want to do it all right away. We want to fix it. We
Yes,
want it, like
all at
when that
once.
emotional constipation goes through, like the culvert's clean, and it's like, okay. And then you get into that weird manic energy of like, I'm gonna, and it's like, okay, well, you gotta drink some tea and go to the gym and be a human still. So,
Right.
so you have to like, relax into that power. And that's something that I've really been trying to do. And creativity's been a nice, so I promise, here we go. We're back at it. Where creativity's been a nice balance into it, because if you don't take care of yourself along the way, you'll burn out all the same. And then there's no movement, there's no progress.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people are moving out of that emotional constipation right now, and it's beautiful to see. But then you don't want it to go into, that
you don't want
burnout.
emotional diarrhea. Yeah.
That's right. and I think we saw that in the pandemic, to be honest. I think we all kind of went hard in another way because we didn't have any sense of self of what would be helpful, especially as we didn't have a sense of what was happening, and we burnt out in a different type of way of expression. And so I think to really put a pin in it all, when we consider how does our art give us expression and give us meaning, I think it's a slow burn. It's a lot of really good internal questions, because it has to start, with ourselves. But then also just like taking it easy out and about, like hit that open mic or something, like, lighten up a bit. I'm constantly reminding myself that if there's no comedy in it, then no one's having fun. So
yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, that was a lot. I probably needed to get that off my chest somehow.
I am glad that you unloaded it here. That was beautifully said. Thank you. Following that, would you like to make some ugly art?
I would. I have crayons. I have a piece of paper.
Perfect. That's all you need. Okay, so you mentioned that you would like a little bit of guidance here. So my favorite thing to do when I am starting ugly art, when I am guiding ugly art, is asking, well, first you got to pick a color, right? Since we're working with ugly art, sometimes it's fun to say, what is my least favorite color in this box? And start there. Or if you like kind of the randomization of it, you could like just ask Google, hey, Google, what color should I pick? Let the fates decide. I have like a little color randomizer box that my friend made for me. It has just like these little dice with different colored sides, and they help me decide. Like that was just turquoise. So once you've got your color, go ahead and let your hand tell you what feels good. Maybe it wants to go around in circles. Maybe it wants to do other kinds of shapes. Maybe it just wants to squiggle. Just kind of ask your hand what it would like to do and be like, yes, you're allowed to do that, and then let it go. And then once you have kind of your first scribbles, your lines, just getting curious about what you can add to that. Does it want to be a face? Does it want to be more scribbles? Does it want to have eyeballs and feet? Just getting curious about what your scribble wants to be, and being like, yeah, okay, you're allowed to be that. I'll give you whatever I can along the way. So that's my guidance for you. I hope it's helpful.
Let's go. I think I got it. I think I have here. I'll show. I have a really I don't know if random's the right word, but I have an assortment of colors. So we have, a nice variety of. I know enough about color theory to know that there's contrasting colors in my hand. So
perfect.
We're going.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll set a timer for 5 minutes. If you have like a pretty big paper, you might want to like fold it in half or something, like make it a little smaller because,
Okay.
sometimes
I'll do
like
that
5 minutes
because
really isn't that long. And sometimes it's nice to work with a smaller space or smaller container for
yeah.
your art. Yeah. Yeah, I'll set a timer, and as we're creating, it kind of varies. Sometimes it's hard to talk while you're creating.
Well, I'm definitely a
um,
yapper. Um, what normally happens? Do people go nonverbal and go hard and make something beautiful?
it kind of varies. So far I've only been doing the actual creating during the episode for I think the last 4 or 5 episodes that I've done now. Um, And usually we're able to chat a little bit, but sometimes we go a little nonverbal for a bit, which is fine. We can just like cut those little moments short in the editing phase. Um, but yeah, kind of varies.
Okay.
What's something that's been like really giving you hope during these times? Because I've really enjoyed seeing your passion and involvement in what's been going on. So if you'd like to share a bit about kind of your involvement in the 50501 protests and that kind of
Oh,
stuff, that'd be
sure.
cool to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad to. It's definitely all fresh and new. And so even, by the time this coming out, I'm sure there's going to be new information. So definitely could put a
Mhm.
link or share a link as well. The 50501 movement, 50 states, 50 protests, one movement really started off of Reddit. So I was on Reddit and being a total nerd, just kind of trying to find something to do. Honestly, I was just
Mhm.
trying to find something to hold on to from moving from that emotional constipation space. And
Mhm.
there's already mobilizing happening, I think, more so on the East Coast at this point. But then all of a sudden, there's a Washington engagement happening, and the Washington group is slowly starting to form quickly. I should say quickly, even though it all felt like we needed more time. We did it. It happened so quick, and that was on February 5th. It was the first protest of the just to kind of go, hey, constitutionality, inclusivity. Who is America? Who are we? We have a flat out right to just protest. And so you had actually a lot of different messages there. Um,
Mhm.
Mine, of course, was the sign behind me, solidarity for the working class, because I do think at the end of the day, a lot of what we all need, um, frankly, no matter who folks voted for, could be addressed through working class issues like livable wages, affordable and
Mhm.
adequate healthcare, nutrition, access to food. Uh, I don't want to minimize it by calling it simple stuff, but it just seems like basic, fundamental.
The basic fundamentals for sure of living a good life. We have human bodies that need tending to, and we
Perchance.
deserve to be able to tend to them. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I don't, obviously a lot of, I don't want to go maybe into a rabbit hole of anything besides if that could be something we united across. Like there's 168 million workers in the United States, and there's only 800 billionaires. I just look at this and
Mhm.
I just go, there's so much power in the people, and so
Yeah.
that gives me hope. I go, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people, and we're already seeing that. So I think there was 15 protests on President's Day in Washington State. 1,000
Amazing.
so people came out in Tacoma, 2,000 I guess at the Capitol. I don't know what the rest of the numbers are, but the pictures were amazing. Nationwide, we don't know what the numbers are, but it was fantastic to see people are uniting, and it's just really
Yeah.
cool. And it gives me hope that the people are finding their power again, and what that can look like is really up to us. And I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out right now. And so us organizers in Tacoma, we have a lot of conversations happening now on what are our goals. And we don't want to recreate any wheels, of course, because there's so many existing amazing community organizing already happening in our community. So we want to
Yeah.
try to consolidate information and help people activate kind of our initial conversation on the call of like, how can people just like get more engaged with how they care? And so I think
Mhm.
that's going to be a big part of the movement, in addition to increasing awareness to our dissatisfaction in what we do want to require as people. And I don't think that conversation has changed for a long time. And I'm excited to see
Yeah.
how that can be amplified through the movement. So it's Evergreen Resistance now. We've rebranded as a state, which is exciting. A little zhuzh.
Yeah, I love that.
Washingtonians love a
Love
little
that.
zhuzh. Evergreenresistance.org.
Indeed.
It's a little easier to find too, and that's going to have more updated local info. But
Mhm.
50501 or 5050.1, I think, is the webpage. I can get you links. Really nice. It's nonpartisan. It's really one of those things where it's come as you are, make it what you want it to be, because it's truly grassroots, which, you know, it can be messy, but at the same time, it is truly the people, that's why I'm in it, because
Yeah.
I think that's what it needs to
Yeah.
be.
Absolutely. And community is messy. I think we've kind of collectively forgotten that, or just don't really want to engage in it, it seems. Like you know, like people have so many different perspectives, life experiences, neurodivergences, beliefs, and we all have to live together. And the the answer in finding that is being like, yes, this is going to be messy, this is going to be imperfect, and we're going to engage with it anyway.
And maybe that's what makes us
Exactly
fantastic,
my
you know?
belief with art.
Yeah, I think it's all the same. I think what makes society
Hmm.
true, and honestly, what functions it, because I could not program a stoplight. Everyone complains about stoplights. I would be
Yeah.
surprised if the people saying something could fix it. I couldn't. I
Hmm.
don't know what takes to make a light change better. So, you know, it
Right.
takes literally all kinds. And I think if we look at innovation over time, marginalized, however you slice a pie, traditionally marginalized communities have been innovators. They have been people that have saved us through technology and through, um,
Hmm.
you look at vaccine, like you look at anything and you go, it's literally taken everyone to do this. And I just think that's the progress that we like. I look at, I have a lot of books on resilient communities and how we can move through climate challenges and how we can have that better future. And it literally is possible with engaging with everybody. And so it's super exciting because, like, we have the playbook. The tricky part is we need to know our power to get there. And I
Yeah.
think that's, where most of this conversation is sat today, which I acknowledge.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me yap about empowering people a little bit more than creativity, but maybe that's what it is today. And that's where I'm
I
finding my
I think
creativity, I
that's
guess, right now. So
absolutely. I think that's and like I think that's what's making this work continue to feel relevant for me personally, because of course my heart and soul are completely in what's going on right now. I mean, for the last 2 years, I've been so enraged by the state of the world and by the United States in particular. And then I have this kind of this business that's very focused on like creativity, and like I'm like, I know these are connected because I didn't start getting more involved until I started engaging with my creativity, engaging with myself in a more real and tangible way, instead of just kind of going with the status quo, numbing myself. I didn't start engaging with all of this until I started engaging with my creativity. And I think that there is something here with engaging with our creativity gets us to engage with our real world around us, and what our real world is around us right now is pretty bad. And so it allows us to process the bad. It allows us to alchemize the bad and make something better and beautiful, and come together to do that. So I'm glad that this is where this conversation has been going, because that's
good.
that's where I see all of I see all of this connection. I see us moving forward to a better future together, but we have to do that by first getting in touch with ourselves and starting at home and starting here, inside, and figuring out what that is, and figuring out what our place is and where we can go, where we want to go, what our strengths are. All of it just feels very much connected to me. So I love that this is where the conversation went.
I think that authenticity that you're talking about is probably succinctly what I've been trying to say like this whole time, is like, know yourself, know your people, and you can like trust that it'll happen, because I'm seeing it in the community
Yeah.
now I think anytime we've seen true honest to goodness change, you need something to occur that is uncomfortable to catalyze change.
Yeah.
You don't get a new condition from the stasis of something staying the same. We see that all the time
Exactly.
after breakups. Things are
Yeah.
better usually after a breakup. You just can't,
Yeah.
see through your tears for a couple months or whatever it takes for a while. And
Right.
so,
Exactly.
I don't mean to be like, this is a good thing. So I'm clearly not saying that. We're in unprecedented times, but I do think there's a lot of opportunity with the challenges afforded to us. And I think people are able to find inspiration through it. And I'm actually stoked for the music that'll come out of this time.
I've been seeing some really dope music come out
Yeah.
recently that I'm really excited about. Yeah.
Not to say that's like a good thing, but I'm feeling like people are finding their voices in a really cool way right now. So
Yeah,
stoked
absolutely.
to have new tunes that I resonate with.
Absolutely. We are getting toward the end of our time, and so I'd love to see what you made, if you'd like to share.
It is, I definitely yapped more than I drew. I am.
That's fair. I was kind of sensing that. We definitely went over 5 minutes, and
I lift.
Hell yeah! Oh, I love it.
I have green
So
hair.
Good. That's perfect.
I did eyes that are red. Like, I don't know. It's scary, but here I am.
You're so victorious.
I got a little, I did 2 squiggles. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, oh, they're dumbbells. So you can tell where my brain was at. I don't know. I did my best.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I love it. I made this little guy kind of a, I'm not sure if you can see him.
Okay, that's what's up.
Some kind of anime dude. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing his best. He's living life. He looks happy.
I like the hair. It's actually a really similar color grouping to what I got going on.
Yeah.
I don't know about this. I've really enjoyed my time here, though. I think you're amazing.
Good.
And I think this is a really cool platform.
Yay. I'm so glad that you came to join me. You've got a couple shows coming up. I think one is before this episode airs, but another one is in April, correct?
Yeah. So Women's Day at Parkway, probably before this airs. That's March 8th. And then I have, I should really, really know this. But yeah, New Frontier, April 25th, I think. Is that a Friday? Ooh.
Maybe. I will confirm, and I'll put it in the show notes, so you'll be able to.
Let's make sure we get this right. I'm so sorry. Yep, April 25th. And that's with a wonderful group of lady-led bands. And so if you miss Women's Day, there's another one coming. And check us out at New Frontier then. And then we also have some other really cool stuff lined up for this summer. So check out sweetmaryland.art if you want to follow us and stay up to date with my band.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jade.
Absolutely.
This was excellent.
Well, have a great rest of your day. And stay creative, everybody. This is so cool. Thank you so much again for the invite.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for everybody for listening. And as always, remember to keep it ugly. The Ugly Podcast is created by me, Laura Alexander of Scribe and Sunshine. It's produced and sort of edited also by me and written and directed by absolutely no one. Our theme song was written and produced by the amazing Zoe Tronic. If you like the podcast, be sure to rate and leave a review on your preferred platform and share with the creative people in your life. If you're interested in learning more about what I do, head to scribeandsunshine.com to learn more about my ugly art workshops and my editing services. If you haven't yet today, I dare you to make that thing you've been thinking about making but have been too scared it's gonna be terrible. Make it terrible. And as always, keep it ugly.
You can do it. You can go create. Just get to it. I promise you'll feel great.